He's been living and working in so many cities around the world, like Zurich, London, Boston, Vancouver, Montreal, Samoa, Singapore, and now Berlin. His career adventure includes working for Ubisoft and Unity Technologies, and currently he is General Manager for Europe at PlayFab. Please give a warm welcome at the stage, Mr. Mark Val.
Hi everyone. So yes, my name is Mark Val. So we are here today to talk about the cross-continent perspective on the truly global market. So first, let's introduce myself. Yeah, I'm a first online engineer. I've built many companies. I've built a video platform. I've built advertising platform, and now a live game operation platform. So first, let's look at the market and how it is today. We have a bit more than 1.9 million apps available in the App Store. So it's still growing every month or every day at a really fast rate. And if we're looking at Google Play, now we're at a 2.34 million apps. But this is actually not a true, because we have a bit more than 450 app store available in the world. Most of them are available in Asia. There are some also in South America. So that means that we have a bit more than 4 million apps currently for Android. That's a huge number of apps. So it is huge competition, obviously. And all of that, 25% are games. So why games? Let's look at that. Well, all the money is going to games. It's that simple. Pretty much in every country, in every app store there is, the top 10 games, top 10 apps, sorry, who are making the most revenue comes from games. So that's why there's so many apps, so many games being built for mobile. And well, you know, like since there's so many games and there's so many competition happening in those stores, obviously there's some change that is happening since the last, I would say, 2 years, and now it's kind of consolidating. Those 10 apps that are at the top barely change. They are able to stay there for 2, 3 years of time. That's a long time. So a lot of people hope to get in that top 10, but it's extremely hard to get there. And these top 10 have a lot of money to invest in advertising. We're talking about millions of dollars every month to invest to get more user acquisition, CPI, and using cross-promotion through various marketing segments. Unfortunately, there's less time being spent on games, but it's not really something that is bad. There's more session happening in a day. But all the other type of apps have more time in them. So it's kind of leverage. But people are maturing. And if you look at the top 15 apps that is happening, that is available, 52% of the revenue comes from them. So the consolidation is really strong. But if you look at last year, it was 10 apps. And now we're at 15. So it means that the industry, or I would say the consumers, are evolving. So we can hope that next year it's going to be the top 20, then after that the top 40, top 50. And if we look back in time, in early 2000, when we have all these new services for streaming music, and then for books and other type of content, obviously when you go online, you end up with millions and millions and millions of different units to consume. And the long tail gets really big. So right now, these changes are happening in the app stores all around the world, and it's something that we have to address. And a lot of companies are doing that. So what you're looking at is more than 3,800 software as a service company dedicated to marketing, and most of them want to have games, or at least one of those top 10 games, to make as much money as possible. But then for all of you that are making apps and wish to be discovered as well, I suggest you strongly to use one of those services to do your marketing. Simply put, you don't need to develop your own tools. The tools are already available out there. And since last year, there's 86% more of those companies available for you today, and most of them are VC-backed, which means that they have a lot of money in the bank, they're ready to give you free stuff to start using their services, and their competition is strong between each of them. Marketing teams are getting smaller, budgets are getting bigger, and the competition is fierce. So the reality, again, is in North America and Europe, there's no more new users. What I mean by new users is that people who buy a phone, a smartphone for the first time, will go in the App Store and start downloading about everything. And for free apps or free games, they're going to spend for the first time and see what happened. But these times are evolved. The wow effect is gone. So you have to be even more creative into getting those old users now that are used to the App Store and used to their phone. So as you have heard previously with other speakers, you have to be extremely innovative and extremely creative to get those people. So yeah, the mobile industry is maturing. But I would say it's actually evolving, and we're going to see why. So where first do you want to grow if you want to get still some new users? In the next 5 years, there's going to be 1 billion new subscribers on mobile. We're currently at 4.6 billion subscribers, so 1 more billion, and about 90% of them will come from emerging countries. And from that 90%, 50% will come from India. So if you're looking for new users, India should be the place you have to look at. So as I'm saying here, we can see the differences between what's happening in the Pacific region, the Asian region, but also how India is growing slowly. It's going to grow for a long time, like believe me. So let's pick the number 3 country in Southeast Asia, which is Philippines. They have like huge numbers in terms of new users coming all the time. So if we take the app number 250 in terms of grossing rate, we're at $1.8 thousand that this app is making every week, versus the number 1, 110,000. So there's a difference of, well, it's 1.5% of that number 1 that this app is making on 250. But if you look at Philippines, if you're making $4,000 a year, you're making a lot of money. That's how GDP is in Philippines. Now let's look at United States. 250, $57,000, number 1, 7.2 million in a week. So we can see the gap from the number 1 in Philippines versus the number 1 in United States, or again, the same numbers, 1.5% of the later. So the gap is huge. And why is it like this? We're going to look at it. So if you look at these two graphs, what it shows on the left of it is all the apps coming from various countries. In the middle, the country that is actually distributing the app to these consumers, and on the right, where the revenue is going. So we can see that in Europe, that United States is doing a fantastic job. And Finland as well. Finland is not making that many apps, but they're making a lot of revenue. And again, a lot of that comes from games. If you look at Asia, well, it's really hard for the United States. It's extremely hard, actually. Not only they have all the different app stores, the culture is different, localization has to be done, but there's one thing that you have to understand through this graph, is that countries who are developed, who have been distributing mobiles to their citizens for a long time, have a bigger GDP. A country who is having good internet connection, who is having a good penetration rate with good speed, will, with time, have more money. It's simple as that. That's why these Asian countries like Japan, China, and Korea are able to cope with their own apps because, of course, they have the instruction to do it properly. So, yeah, let's look at China. Sorry for the fonts, by the way. So in China, Google Play, Facebook, and all the others, YouTube, they're all banned. It doesn't exist. So what do you have instead? Yay, 300 and plus different stores. So if you want to go in China, obviously, it's going to be extremely hard. Not only you have to establish a company there, but you have to choose which app store is going to be good for you. You might be going into a messaging app like QQ or WeChat. WeChat, which is now the #1 messaging service in China made from Tencent. And then if you decide, oh, I'm going to go in more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you might getting to be started to be cut from other app stores simply because they're like, why did you went in that store? There's mine is here. So you have to be extremely careful over there. So if you don't have a team already in China, it's best to use a third-party provider to get your first steps in there. And it's the same in India, it's the same in South America and elsewhere. So Africa is coming, actually. We kind of forgot them. But now slowly the connection penetration rate is starting. The big problem with all the other countries as well is that those are rural areas, and also the money that the citizens are making is not that much, so it's really hard to monetize infrastructure. So if you follow the news, now you have Facebook with the project Aquila, who's going to beam internet to the users that are in those rural areas, using drones that is flying 3 times higher than regular airplanes, beaming up by laser this data to this ground. And then you have a SpaceX program, which is going to start in 5 years to connect the world. So these will be the operators of tomorrow. Thank you. Anyone got a question for me? Anyone want to know about games? All right, thank you very much.